Fans are in utter shock as alarming reports surface that Scrappy may have reached his lowest point. However, sources close to the rapper reveal that he's been spiraling ever since Bambi left his life, and in a heartbreaking turn of events, he's allegedly tried to end it all. Scrappy is at his breaking point after everything he's been through, including the heartbreak, betrayals, and endless drama. Rumors of a devastating cry for help have rocked the industry, leaving fans wondering how it happened, whether it's really Scrappy's last moment, and most importantly, whether Bambi will intervene before it's too late. Stay tuned because what we're about to reveal will leave you stunned. Scrappy was always known for his resilience. No matter how difficult things got, he always found a way to get through. Method to persevere, but this time something was different. The pain felt indescribable. The weight of his heartbreak, the betrayal, and the loneliness had finally caught up with him. Now, sources close to the rapper say that he might have done the unimaginable. It all began when his life's love, Bambi, left. Their relationship had been a flurry of passionate arguments and makeups, but this time the breakup felt permanent and scrappy. In a late-night conversation, Scrappy reportedly told a close friend, "I just don't know how to move forward." His friends noticed that his usual vibrant energy had diminished. His social media accounts had become unusually quiet, and his once lively presence had been replaced with cryptic messages that hinted at his deep emotional turmoil. "Everything feels empty without her. Nothing makes sense anymore," Scrappy reportedly said. He posted a series of Instagram stories, each darker than the last, raising suspicions that something was wrong. One post in particular caught everyone's attention, a black screen with the words, "What's the point of it all?" written in white. Within minutes, his followers flooded his direct message service with supportive messages, urging him to remain strong. But they had no idea that things were much worse than they had anticipated. Scrappy's closest friends and family knew he was. He was struggling, but nobody understood how profound his suffering was. Over the past few weeks, his behavior had become more unpredictable. He stopped attending studio sessions, skipped crucial meetings, and even abandoned some of his closest friends. However, the biggest warning sign was that he began drinking excessively, something he had previously vowed never to do again. One of his longtime friends, who asked to remain anonymous, explained the moment they realized something was seriously wrong. He kept saying, "I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm tired, bro. I just want this pain to stop." And I tried to get him out of that mindset, but I could see it in his eyes. As the days went by, his family became more and more concerned, and his mother, Mama D, was one of the people who worried the most. I went to check on him, but I didn't recognize him. His house was a mess. Bottles were all over the place, and the blinds were closed tightly, as if he would rather not see the light. In a heartbreaking Instagram live session, she became the first to publicly admit that something was seriously wrong. She begged fans to send prayers, saying, "Y'all, I need y'all to lift my baby up. I don't know what's going on, but he isn't himself. I haven't seen him this low before. I'm scared for him, petrified." Then came the night that changed everything, when reports indicate that on a calm evening, Scrappy locked himself inside his home and refused to respond. His closest friends, sensing that something was seriously amiss, drove to his house and banged on the door for him to let them in, but after what seemed like an eternity, one of them decided to call for help. We were shouting his name, Bing, on the door, but it was just silent inside, and I swear I felt like my heart was going to burst. We had no idea what was going on behind those walls when, after forcing their way inside, authorities and paramedics discovered Scrappy unconscious, his body limp on the floor, pills all over the place, and a bottle of liquor overturned on the table. It was obvious that this was a desperate cry for help, and the medics immediately started to stabilize him while his friends stood there with frozen tears in their eyes. One of them later admitted that we kept calling his name in the hopes that he would open. When the news broke, social media was ablaze with worried fans sending love and support messages, hoping that this wasn't the end for Scrappy. However, the real question was still whether he would make it, and if he did, would this be the wake-up call he needed? As Scrappy was rushed into emergency care, details of what had led to this tragic night began to surface. He had been spiraling for weeks, according to friends close to him, but no one realized how far gone he was. One source said he was drowning in his thoughts every day, talking about how he felt inadequate and that no matter what we told him, he couldn't hear us because his mind was already made up. Doctors tried their hardest to stabilize him, but the situation was dire, and reports indicated that he had consumed a harmful mix of drugs that made it a race against time, and for his loved ones, those moments seemed to last forever. Mama D was seen arriving at the hospital in obvious distress, begging the medical staff for updates on her son's condition. Today's heartbreaking tale raises the important question of whether Scrappy will actually be able to start a new chapter in his life, find a way to live without Bambi, or have his heart forever stuck in. Do you think Scrappy will find the strength to move on, or is there still hope for him and Bambi to reunite? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest drama, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. His fans are still worried about the entire situation, and social media is flooded with prayers and support for him. Despite their history with Rocky, Bambi was devastated by the news, according to sources. She had never wanted this for Scrappy, and she was in total shock. An insider disclosed that she might not have been with him anymore, but that didn't mean she stopped caring. She felt guilty, thinking that perhaps if she had handled things differently, he wouldn't have gotten to this point. Fans were also deeply troubled, and social media was flooded with messages of concern that included hashtags like #hash. As we wait for updates, a well-known rapper tweeted, "Pray for Scrappy" is trending nationwide. Some celebrities even took to their platforms to express their sadness and send their support. Mental health is real, y'all. We have to check in on our people praying for Scrappy right now. However, inside the hospital, it was a fight for survival while everyone else did everything they could, and they clarified it that the next few hours were crucial even though Scrappy had a long road to recovery. If he didn't, the world would be bidding farewell to yet another beloved star far too soon. Dawn broke the tension in the waiting room, which was unbearable. His friends, family, and fans were holding their breath, hoping that Scrappy would wake up or that this was really the end. His mother, Mama D, was by his bedside, checking his vitals. Her prayers had been endless, and her heart had been broken at the sight of her son in such a fragile state. But even as she whispered words of comfort, she knew that this battle was far from over because the world outside the hospital had erupted in chaos. Scrappy lay in the hospital bed, his body weak, his mind clouded with pain and regret. The room was eerily silent except for the rhythmic beeping of the monitors. That child held on tight as if fearing him would mean losing him forever. The internet was inundated with messages of concern, support, and speculation after fans, celebrities, and fellow artists took to social media to spread the word about Scrappy's suicide attempt. One post was more accusatory than the next, asking where Bambi was when he needed her most. The blame game had started, and fingers were pointed in all directions. Bambi herself had been caught in the storm, and reporters had been chasing her. People wanted to know if she had spoken to Scrappy prior to the incident and if she had any idea how much he was suffering. But Bambi remained silent and refused to be drawn into the chaos. In the back of her mind, she was struggling with her emotions. Yul noted that she had pushed him too far and had been too cold in their last conversation. The thought tormented her, but she knew she couldn't change the past while Scrappy was going through a difficult time. His mind was caught in a maelstrom of memories as he drifted in and out of consciousness. He saw flashbacks of his life with Bambi, including the arguments, laughter, and love that had once been, but was now reduced to ashes. He also saw Mama D's anxious face, Diamond's terrified expression when she discovered him, the paramedics racing to save him, and darkness, a deep abyss that threatened to swallow him whole. Hours turned into days before Scrappy gradually recovered his strength. The emotional scars were much more severe than the physical ones. So a therapist was brought in to help him talk about them and face the pain that had almost taken over his life. At first, he resisted answering the questions quickly with fake laughter and platitudes like, "I'm fine, man, just a rough patch." But Mama D wasn't a fool. She had witnessed her son at his lowest point and knew that pretending wouldn't help him. "You have to let it out, baby." Mama D gently stroked his hand and said, "I know it hurts, baby, but you have to find a way to live for yourself, not for Bambi, not for anyone else, just for you." The words lingered in the air, heavy with truth, and Scrappy's eyes were glassy with unshed tears. "I just don't know how to do this without her, Mama. Every day feels empty, like I'm just going through the motions." As the days went by, more people came to see him, including his close friends, colleagues in the industry, and even people he hadn't spoken to in years. They all had the same message: "We need you to hear, Scrappy, you matter." However, the biggest surprise came when Bambi finally entered the hospital. The room fell silent as she entered, and her expression. Words failed him now that she was here. Bambi took a deep breath before saying, "Scrappy, I never wanted this for you." His voice was hoarse, and when he answered, "Then why does it feel like you did?" His words carried years of hurt, love, and longing. Unreadable. Scrappy's heart pounded in his chest as their eyes met. He had dreamed of this moment and imagined 1,000 different scenarios of what he would say if he ever saw her again. Bambi sighed, looking down, "Because love isn't supposed to be toxic. I never meant for you to feel this way, and I'm never meant for you to." Her voice broke, and she looked away, blinking back tears. Scrappy clenched his fist, his emotions a tangled mess of anger, sorrow, and yearning. "Then, why did you leave me? If you knew I couldn't live without you, why did you let me go?" He knew how to make it better, but her words hit him like a kick to the gut. He wanted to say that she was wrong and that they could have worked things out, but he knew deep down that she was right. Their love had been passionate but destructive for a long time. The air between them was full of unspoken words, unfinished conversations, and a history that was too complicated to sort out in one night. Eventually, Bambi reached out to her. "I don't know what will happen next, but I do know one thing. You can't give up on Scrappy. You can't leave like this. You are loved. You are needed." Scrappy swallowed hard, his vision blurred by tears. "So why is it still hurting so much?" Bambi gently squeezed his hand because healing takes time, and you have to let yourself heal. As she got up to go, Scrappy felt a change inside of him. Perhaps it was closure, perhaps it was. As the door closed behind her, Scrappy let out a deep breath, the weight on his chest a little lighter than before. He wasn't okay yet, but for the first time in a long time, he believed that maybe one day he could be. Could have been acceptance, or perhaps it was the start of a new chapter in which he learned to live for himself, even if it meant learning how to do it without her. He sat in his dimly lit room, feeling the weight of his emotions. The emptiness that had consumed him since Bambi left the once lively Scrappy, known for his energy and charisma, was now pressing down on him like a crushing force. His phone was buzzing nonstop, with messages from friends, family, and fans coming in. Everyone was worried and asking questions, but none of them could feel it. He was now staring blankly at the walls, drowning in memories of the love he had lost. Mama D had tried everything she had called. The idea of Bambi going on with her life without him tore him apart piece by piece. He had been a fighter all his life, facing challenges head-on. But this time was different. It wasn't a battle he knew how to win. The rumor began to circulate when Scrappy posted a mysterious message on his social media. She had even made him sit down and discuss his feelings, but nothing seemed to ease his pain. In the dead of night, Scrappy called Bambi, and his voice trembled as he spoke his emotions raw and unfiltered. "I don't know how to do this without you," he said, admitting that his heart was pounding in his chest. Despite Bambi's sympathy, Scrappy remained firm, caused the internet to explode with fans and friends speculating that Scrappy had been struggling with deep depression and that the reality of the situation became clear. The call ended, and Scrappy sat there with his phone shaking and his hands shaking. He felt lost and broken beyond repair. And that was the moment he made a decision that would send shockwaves through everyone who cared about him. The following morning, Scrappy's close friend and fellow rapper Diamond arrived at his house after receiving a string of alarming texts, and what she discovered sent shivers down her spine. He was hardly conscious. His face was pale, his body was weak, and empty bottles were lying all over the floor, a haunting testament to his despair. Panicked, Diamond called 911 right away, her hands shaking as she pleaded for assistance, and paramedics arrived minutes later, rushing Scrappy to the hospital. The news spread almost immediately, and fans began flooding timelines with messages of hope and support. In the hospital room, Scrappy lay unconscious with the machine monitoring his vitals beeping steadily. Mama D refused to leave his side, her hands clasped together as she prayed under her breath, "Lord, don't take my baby." Tears streamed down her face, expressing her pain at seeing her son in such a fragile state. Support the music industry. His friends, even his ex-partners, came forward to express their love and concern. The tension in the air was suffocating everyone as the doctors worked nonstop for hours to stabilize him. Finally, there was movement, a slow blink, a faint whisper, and everyone was waiting for a sign that Scrappy would recover. The room was filled with relief, but the battle was far from over, and Scrappy's road to recovery would be long and difficult because the emotional wounds ran deep and the pain of losing Bambi lingered, hung over him like a black cloud. But in that instant, surrounded by love and support, a glimmer of hope appeared. Perhaps he could find his way back. Scrappy lay in his hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind a flurry of emotions, the weight of what had just happened setting in and a near-death experience that had shaken not only him but everyone who loved him. His body felt weak and exhausted from the trauma, but the pain in his chest had nothing to do with. Mama D sat next to him, holding his hand tightly, her eyes filled with both relief and concern. "Baby, you scared me to death," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "What were you thinking?" Scrappy let out a heavy sigh. "I wasn't thinking, Mama," she said, "just feeling like I had nothing left." Mama D quickly wiped away the tears that were wet in her eyes. "Don't you ever say that again. You have so much to do. You can't let this break you, no matter how hard you try." Scrappy had spent months trying to move on and rebuild himself after losing Bambi, but no matter how hard he tried, the void remained. The door to this hospital room crept open, and to his surprise, Bambi entered. She'd appeared hesitant, almost nervous, but there was unquestionably sad in her eyes. "Scrappy," I heard what happened for a moment, but neither of them said anything. The tension was thick, years of love and pain hanging between them like an unspoken weight. Scrappy swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you here?" Bambi sighed, taking a step closer because, in spite of everything, I still care about you, and I would rather not see you like this. A bitter laugh came out of Scrappy's lips. Scrappy closed his eyes, taking in her words. He wanted to push her away, but deep down he knew she was right. They had been through so much. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because we were toxic for each other. We kept hurting each other, and I couldn't keep living like that. But that doesn't mean I wanted this for you," she said, softening Bambi's expression. Mama D cleared her throat, sensing the depth of the moment, and said, "If you care about him, help him. He needs to heal, and he can't do it alone." Bambi hesitated, then nodded. "I can't promise anything, but I can be here as a friend." That wasn't what Scrappy wanted, but perhaps it was what he needed. A chance to rebuild, not just for Bambi, but for himself. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with pain and healing. But today's heartbreaking story raises many questions, including whether Scrappy will actually be able to start a new chapter in his life, find a way to live without Bambi, or have his heart forever stuck in this pain. Fans are still worried about the entire situation, and social media is flooded with prayers and support for him. What do you think will give Scrappy the strength? Please let us know what you think in the comments section below. And if you want to keep up with all the most recent drama, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications so you never miss a moment. Narrative.